Hi everyone, Dr. Knackstedt here. I have seen so much misinformation lately about what a complete protein is, so I wanted to come in and give you some evidence-based answers. When we talk about protein, we need to talk about the amino acids. The amino acids, like we've talked about before, are the building blocks of protein. In different sources of food, protein have different amino acids. Now there's 20 amino acids that our body needs in order to make protein. 9 of them are considered essential, meaning that our bodies cannot produce them, we have to eat them in our diets. A food source is considered a complete protein if it contains all 9 of those essential amino acids. So what are good sources of complete proteins? If we're thinking about non-vegetarian options, it's pretty much all of the proteins. Meat products, dairy products, eggs, all complete proteins. When we think about vegetarian sources, there are some complete proteins, things like soy, pea protein, hemp protein, amaranth, quinoa. These are all complete proteins. So those are all really great sources for complete proteins if you're a vegetarian. Now, does that make other vegetarian sources of protein suboptimal? Things like other grains, beans? Not really. It just doesn't include all of the essential amino acids. So you just need to ensure that throughout the day, you really are getting all of the essential amino acids in your diet. But there's other things to consider, things that make this conversation a little bit more tricky and a little bit more nuanced. The first thing to consider is bioavailability. Studies have indicated that some plant proteins are less bioavailable than animal sources, which means that you need to eat more in your diet to get the same amount of protein from a plant source than an animal source. That's okay, we can overcome that. The third thing to think about really is the amount of leucine that is in your protein. Leucine is one of the amino acids, and leucine has shown to have the unique power to stimulate muscle synthesis. So if you're trying to encourage muscle growth, which we're definitely trying to do before and after surgery, you need to ensure that you're eating enough leucine. Now, it's confusing what are the best sources of leucine. It's not really intuitive. So some animal sources like whey protein are really high in leucine, but there's also some really great vegetarian options too. Soy is pretty high in leucine, not as high as whey, but high. But other vegetarian sources aren't as high as in leucine. I put a little graph up here so you can see a representation of the leucine content in different proteins. So when you're thinking about protein intake, it's not just about grams. We also need to be thinking about sources, whether or not it has a high or low bioavailability, and what its leucine content is. Do you have more questions? If so, let me know below.